be able to get the help and support that they need right now. Clinical psychologist Aileen is here for more on this. Aileen, lovely to have your company.
Thank you for having me, Holly.
Aileen, a really, really important conversation to have. Many people are struggling at the moment. What is the wait time to see a psychologist right now?
From anywhere between a month to 6 months, patients have completely closed their books.
Yeah, it's quite concerning, isn't it? And I mean, for those struggling with months of lockdown, what tools are you recommending for people at the moment? And what about if those people actually can't obviously get an appointment quick enough? How disturbing is that to you?
Look, it's quite disturbing for everybody that works in mental health because as we know that prevention is better than a cure. And when people are reaching out, it says to us that they are probably at that point where they really need the help. They are in a lot of distress. And so to not be able to deliver these services to people that are wanting this help right now, it's quite disturbing. I've created a meditation classes online, which is not going to be exactly the help that people need from a one-on-one session, but it certainly will help reduce the symptoms that most people are experiencing.
There was a lot of talk and a lot of contested conversation in regards to mental health and the amount of support from government officials during this time. The government was being heavily criticised for not reporting mental health statistics at the same time that they report COVID numbers during this time. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, I think the government is doing the best they can. They're having to run simultaneous programs to help everyone in need. And of course, since the beginning of the pandemic, we knew that mental health was going to be another pandemic that was quietly going to develop in the background. So we as clinicians were prepared for that surge to happen. And unfortunately, because there are already people that are at high risk that we already tagged as needing help. And of course, everybody now in this same boat, whether they have had depression or anxiety, have now felt some of the symptoms of this pandemic with extended lockdowns and are now needing help themselves, despite them having pretty good resources available to them to begin with.
Yeah, wow, it's devastating, isn't it? So what would you advise at the moment for people who might be struggling? They can't get an appointment to get support. What techniques are most impactful?
Techniques that we actually can employ ourselves, such as obviously the normal diet and exercise, but meditation is something that we can definitely do, whether we have 5 minutes or 30 minutes in a day, that we can practice that will give our mind a little mental reset, that little break that we all need right now.
Yeah, and I wanted to get your thoughts as well. There was a lot of talk about the shadow pandemic in relation to mental health, but especially for younger generation and younger people in schools and things like that. Have you found that that is a problem? Have you had younger people especially coming to see you?
Yeah, there had been much more focus on younger people because with younger individuals, their brains are still in the process of developing. So as you can imagine, Holly, the impacts of what's happening right now, these levels of stress or cortisol, the stress hormones in these developing brains have got much more of a longer term impact than it does with adults. So even more so, we want to encourage our young ones to start meditating. And of course, what better way to do that as adults is to model that ourselves.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on to speak about this. As I said before, it's a really, really critical conversation that we need to be having at the moment. Thank you so much.